Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss Christian values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society at large. I'm Father George Ehusani, and today we shall discuss the topic of Catholic education. Catholic education, especially at the secondary school level. For this discussion, we are on the grounds of Regina Pacis College, Garki 2, Abuja. We shall be discussing what is the content of Catholic education at secondary school level, what kind of values we are transmitting to young people, whether they are values that will be capable of changing our society for the better, how the young people are responding to the efforts being made by various church agencies to transmit Christian Catholic values in our secondary schools. We shall be discussing specifically issues regarding Regina Pacis Secondary School here in Abuja. The Regina Pacis Secondary School has existed since 1991. So by November 2016, they celebrate 25 years of existence. I will be discussing with the principal of the school, Sister Maria Ugonna, Igbo. Sister, you are welcome to this interview.
Thank you, Father. You're welcome to Regina Pacis.
Great. It's wonderful to be in this beautiful compound. I have always looked forward to doing some work in a place like this so that I can enjoy the ecology, the beautiful ecological setting.
You're welcome, Father. You're welcome.
Thank you. So, how long have you been here as a principal?
As a principal, this is my third year.
Your third year?
I actually came as BP admin.
Vice principal?
Admin, yes, in 2010.
I see.
Yes, I worked with Sister Chidaval, my predecessor. And by 2013, October, she handed over to me as a principal.
I mean, isn't it wonderful to be in a compound like this? I can hear the birds singing. I mean, this sonorous sound of the birds.
Yes,
you wake up to it.
Yes, we do. Sometimes when we are praying, even the birds help join us in singing.
The birds help you to sing the morning prayer.
Yes.
Wonderful. It's a beautiful compound, and I think that perhaps, I believe one of the values you are giving to the children is precisely nature, you know, how to value nature. I hope the young people here value these trees and shrubs. And
I mean, they do a lot. You see it in their own, you know, actions, and they see children hanging around. If some go to the field, some go to the tap, some, you know, they just feel free on the compound. And you can sometimes see animals as well, like cats on their own. Okay. And children just watch them.
Oh, okay, wild cats.
Yes, yeah. They're now part of us here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, children enjoy them.
Yes. How do you take care of this compound? How, I mean, to make sure that with all these trees and the droppings, how are they taken care of to make sure that it's clean like this?
The school has so many, many staff in different units. We have gardeners who are committed to their duties, looking after the flowers, looking after the trees, trimming them.
What about the students? Don't they do some?
The children do their own manual labor. Fridays we have manual labor.
Okay.
So we have they call it green and clean.
Green and clean. Okay.
Yes, and they have our labor master, which is really in charge of anything about the environment and takes care of that.
Yeah. How I wish I lived in a place like this.
I mean, you can still live. I think your own trees are growing as well. But
my own trees are growing.
Yes, I saw that last time when I was there.
Yeah.
And when you come into the compound, I mean, during rainy season, it becomes much greener.
Okay, there's more blossoming.
And the children also have a club called Green Team Club.
Green Team?
Yes, club. So they work hard to keep everywhere.
Wonderful. So, Sister, like I told you, we have come together to discuss Catholic education. Regina Pacis College has existed for 25 years.
Yes, Father.
About how many students have been trained here these 25 years? About how many?
Approximately 1,500 thereabouts.
1,500 have passed through the school.
Yes, because most years we have over 100 children per set, and currently this year we have 96 of them. So
you have 96 graduating that are going to graduate this year.
Yes, Father.
Wonderful. So that's a big school. So right now, about how many students in all are in school?
About 800 and 90.
Oh, almost 900 students.
Almost, yes.
Ooh, that must be a task to take care of 900 students. When I was in secondary school, there were few schools that would be 900, you know.
Yeah, because every year we have, like last session, SJS ones, we had about 175 of them.
In one set?
In one set.
So how many arms do you have?
We have 4 arms of...
A, B, C, D.
No, not A, B, C. We have red class, we have gold, we have according to their sciences and careers.
Names.
Yes.
You know, when I was in secondary school,
green,
we used to...
we have blue.
When I was in secondary school, we used to call them 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. Now you have more fanciful, exotic names.
And that also tells you which, arts and social science and science classes. Red and gold are known for science.
Red and gold for science.
Yes.
And then green
and blue
for arts
and social science.
I think that green should be more for science than...
No, but that is how it is.
Okay, so
yes.
You came in here in the year 2010
yes,
as vice principal.
Yes, vice principal admin.
Vice principal admin. Now, right now, how many vice principals do you have?
You do have 3. Vice principal admin, administration, vice principal academics, and vice principal special duties.
Special duties.
Yes.
Meaning
duties? That if you came during the term, the special duties vice principal will be around here. She'll be the one, she's a lady.
Yes.
She'll be the one helping you with all this setting up and making sure that even there's tea for you, there's something to drink.
Okay, special duties.
Yeah, and
just like you do have permanent secretary special duties in many states.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's good. And what would you say will be the main content of Catholic education as transmitted in your school, Regina Pacis College?
What do you mean by social
main content? Main content meaning what do you transmit? What knowledge? What is the body of knowledge you transmit here?
I mean it's all complete. We talk about every subject, and then talk about religious studies as well. That makes it a Catholic school.
So it's every subject that other secondary schools.
Every other the curriculum, complete one, government curriculum like English and mathematics, language and mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, data processing. You have economics, you have government, you have cultural and creative arts. We have literature in English, you have agricultural science, and all of them.
So with the...
we have catering and
okay, so you have what used to be called the sciences, the arts, commercial subjects, home economics.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so complete. Then religious... Christian religious knowledge.
Yes, CRK.
CRK.
Yes.
That must be very important for the proprietor of the school, the Archdiocese of Abuja.
Yes.
Christian and religious knowledge, which is not just Bible knowledge, right?
No.
It includes moral.
It includes moral, and they also have moral instruction, which is not for education, examination.
Not for examinations.
No. But they have it on a daily basis.
On a daily basis?
Yes, mostly managed by the guardian counseling and the one of the teachers, who is Mrs. Sokolie, in charge of moral instruction as well as catechism classes too.
Okay, there's moral instruction and it is different from the catechism classes.
Exactly.
Wonderful. What about liturgy? Do you have...
They do have liturgy. The school is well known for its musical unit as well, music society. And the liturgy takes place on Saturdays. Most of these things, many of these things, children organize them themselves because they already know their timetable.
I am aware that there is daily mass, right? There's
daily mass, which Saturday, Sunday liturgy is normally discussed around 4 o'clock by the children themselves. They read, they share out the reading, they even preach to themselves.
Okay, the young people plan the liturgy for Sunday.
Yes,
Sunday liturgy.
Yes, and they do very well. The singing is superb.
Yeah.
And then they do their own. They also prepare the children for reading, and they sing the psalms, the responsorials, part of the.
Yeah, we shall visit later the chapel. I know that you have a very impressive pro-cathedral. Very impressive chapel
yes.
here.
Yes.
And I have seen your students. In fact, sometimes some of them were threatening to compete with me on the saxophone.
Yes, they will do that.
I know that a number of them play the saxophone, a number of them play the piano, and a number of them play the violin. So a very good musical department here, and we must commend you and the teachers for that. And then there is a chaplain posted here by the Archbishop.
Yes, Father Emma Ojefo.
And
highly devoted and committed.
Highly devoted.
Yes.
I'm happy to hear that.
He teaches them a lot, and even when you listen to the sermon, he's known very, very, good relationship with the children too.
Wonderful. Yes. I mean, I'm happy to hear that the chaplain is doing very well.
Yes.
And almost on a daily basis, right?
Almost.
On a daily basis.
He has doing confessions for them.
And organizes a sacrament of reconciliation.
Yes.
Wonderful. So, from point of view of structure, the religious and moral training is well put together.
Yes.
The next challenge will be, I don't know whether we can measure how those structures are delivering the desired goods, meaning do you have any records of, since these are students who have been graduating for the past 19 years, where the various graduates are, how they are doing, in order to know whether these structures are delivering the goods? I
mean, the school is doing well. The children are also doing okay. Over the years, we've had 100%. Some years you have 98 or 96 or thereabout. But in general, the school is known for its high standard academics. And when the children pass, we've got reports about children who are studying abroad. Many of them study abroad from here. And people ask them, which school are you from? It's Regina Pacis, because they do extremely well outside the country as well.
They do extremely well in academics. But I'm saying, this time now we won't use the word children.
Yes.
Those who finished 15 years ago, 19 years ago, they are now young women, middle-aged women working in various places. Is there some form of follow-up to know how the seeds you sowed, the sisters and other teachers sowed here, do they have a good alumni association?
I wouldn't say that we're very strong following up, but we're doing it now, and because on the 5th of March they come. Yeah. And they want to make it every year. They do every year now, but
there's an effort to set up a good alumni association.
Yes, they've already set up, but they're still trying to
consolidate.
Yes.
Yeah, this is very important for me, because one of the problems we have, one of the challenges we have in this society is follow-up, statistics, and then follow-up. We train thousands of people. You have already graduated over 1,500 students from here. Is there any research going on? Any work going on to monitor the seed planted here for the last 25 years? How are we doing? What is the impact that we are making in society by following these young people up, not only as to how they are doing in universities abroad and elsewhere, but those that are working, those that are teaching, those that are doing all kinds of business, how they are doing, what kind of moral values are guiding their work?
I think from time to time we communicate with them. Some of them keep in touch too. Some come here during the school time or during the holiday too. A couple of months ago we had an ex-student who came up to look around the school and to tell us how she's doing. And I think from time to time we do that. And now that we have social networks, some of them communicate on Facebook and telling us what they do as well. So.
In recent times, the Luke Serra Leadership Foundation has been annually engaged by you to run a leadership training, especially for the prefects class.
Yes.
How would you say the leadership training is doing with regard to the impact for leadership in the school, especially. We've run leadership training for both the teachers and students each year. So what would you say is the impact?
It's a very huge impact because the children look forward to that as well. Okay. The next prefects to come, they're already warming up, because as you said, it's an annual thing now. And the children confess that really that anything about leadership, they've learned a lot from the foundation. And you see these children campaign for the post they want to.
No, it was. No, that's another thing. It was very exciting. Yes. The last time that we were here to run a leadership training, very exciting to see how at their age, and I'm talking of SS2 students who are 14, 15, yes, to see how aware they were of issues of leadership, and how they actually campaign for positions, and were able to demonstrate to us why they think that this particular student is good for labor prefect, why they think that this particular student is good for head girl, and why this one should not be head girl but labor prefect, and why the other one is good for dining room refectory prefect or chapel prefect. I mean, I was quite excited about that, and I'm quite happy about that. What would you say is the configuration of the student body? Are they students from just about around Abuja, or you would say from across the country?
It's actually from across the country and even beyond, because some parents send their children from abroad, from UK, from US, you know, just because they hear about Regina Pacis college and they want the child to be trained here. They talk about discipline of the school, they talk about academics, they talk about all-round education. And then if you see, as we're talking about leadership, you know, the school makes them to apply for the posts they want to be, they want to, you know, work on. I mean,
I find that novel. The school makes them apply for head girl, apply for.
Exactly, and the child will tell his sister, I'm born to lead. Please, I want to be the head girl of the school. But you will see the changes. I will stop this. I will stop that. It's quite interesting.
I mean, I recall an occasion where you, the authorities, would have preferred a particular student to be head girl, and the girl came up and said, no, I will not apply for head girl, I will apply for labor prefect. I want to be labor prefect. And when we interviewed the other students, they said, no, she is not for head girl, she is for labor prefect, independently. And I said, how did you know? They said, we have been together for 5 years. We know who is fit for head girl, we know who is fit for labor prefect. I mean, I went away feeling that this is novel, this is really wonderful, because what used to be the procedure is that the staff sit down in the staff room and then say, look, our experience in the school is that this girl will be fit for head girl, and they go and announce to the students. But with the method you are using, especially with the scrutiny and also with the training in leadership, I wouldn't be surprised if we are putting the right pegs in the right holes. So I won't be surprised if leadership among the students is proper leadership. And with this, I think they are being trained for leadership positions. So women, they are girls, so women in future will be able to stand up on equal footing with their men folk to apply for president, to apply for governor, to apply for whatever, because they have been groomed for it. So I will say thank you very much, sister, for this approach.
Thank you, Father.
Before you came here as vice principal in the year 2010, I recall you were in England for how many years?
I was in England for almost 12 years.
Almost 12 years.
Yes, Father.
Before you went to England, you were personal assistant to the Mother General?
Yes, Mother Chilota Ilochukwu is also the present
Mother General. Yes. Chilota. And then you taught in some Catholic schools in England.
Yes, I taught in Cardinal Hinsley Boys Catholic School.
Cardinal Hinsley Catholic Boys School.
Boys High School in Housden, London.
How big?
Northwest London.
How big was the school?
It's a big school. All boys. They're about almost 700.
Almost 700.
Almost 700 boys.
Were you intimidated, all boys school?
Not at all. I think the school was even, personally, they asked me to help them with special needs.
Okay.
SEN children who might be giving trouble in the class because for them, they saw in me a certain skill to
deal with difficult children.
Exactly. So
you were able to calm them down,
yes,
the difficult children.
I was able to. I worked with them as mother and child, mother and children, and so that was one of the things I enjoyed there was, with particular school and the particular group I had at the time was that we actually had this mutual relationship, and I taught them to trust. And when they do things in a class of disruption in the class, when the other classes, when they come back, they tell me the truth. So we handle it together.
Good. So you were in London, but also I recall you were in Liverpool.
I was also in Liverpool for about 7 years.
7 years.
I taught in Tower College. And Tower College is an independent Christian school.
Tower College, not Catholic, but
no,
Christian.
It's an independent Christian school. Yes, it's a place. This place is also similar because it has all these trees and all over the place. So it's a very nice school, but the children pay school fees there.
Okay, the other schools, the Catholic schools and the government schools, there was no school fee.
No, the government funds.
Government funds in England.
Yeah.
And then in the Tower College, that was an independent Christian, and because it's an independent school, the parents pay fees.
Yes.
Now, I believe your experience working in England in various schools, you taught in 3 different schools.
I also taught in Catholic school in Southwark, St. Mary's Catholic School in Southwark, London, Streatham, Southwest London.
Okay.
Yes, it's a mixed school this time.
Okay.
Boys and girls. I thought for just towards the end of my stay in London because I had to, I had to resign from my work to come down here when I was posted to Nigeria. So I had 3 months to round up. So
you taught in that school.
I taught in that school.
So how would you say your experience teaching in 3 different schools, especially the one you spent 7 years teaching in Liverpool, how would you say your experience teaching in those schools have helped you in administering Regina Pacis College? I must be honest, I think I have every reason to thank God, for my going to London, England, and I had a lot of experience. When I talk about experiences, the special needs thing, even here, I've also started a program and employment. I've given some people employment to teach special needs children. To do what you are doing there. Exactly. I call it called teaching assistant. So we select children who are not doing very, very academically. Yes. They have some challenges that might prevent them from settling down in the class, copying their notes. So I assign some teachers to handle this children. It's the same class. You see, you don't separate them from the main class, but the teacher assistant or teaching assistant goes with them. That is to say, I mean, there is this new approach in pedagogy today, not to separate children of special needs, because when you separate them, you end up reinforcing their weaknesses. Exactly. Whereas when you mix them up with other children, they quickly overcome their problems. Of course, even you don't try to discriminate. You don't even try to let them know they have those challenges. You let them to enjoy, create that scenario where they have to enjoy the learning, teaching and learning. So the approach that you learned in England that you have brought is rather to employ specially trained people, special education people, to sit down in the class with them and help this children with special needs, help them to come up to the level of the others, rather than separate them and put them in different schools. Yeah, the first thing you do is to identify the needs. Okay. Because sometimes we can be teaching in the class, a child is keeping quiet and you don't know the child is not even there. Emotionally, and you think they're listening. There's different abilities, so you just have to also plan. That's what we call differentiation in our teaching. So a teacher is supposed to differentiate work in the same class for different abilities. I mean, this is very interesting for me because in recent times I have been doing some work on emotional intelligence. Okay. And part of emotional intelligence is the capacity to recognize that one child is different from another, and that how you approach teaching of one child or the learning experience of one child is different from how you approach that learning experience with another child. So I am quite happy and excited to hear that you have integrated that idea. To use the word, it's actually integrated education, where approaching education where children that have special needs have to be identified, children that are not paying enough attention in class, children that not copy notes, children that are absent-minded. You identify them and get somebody to help them.
Yes, and one of the things I do also, I have one-on-one meeting with their parents, because I believe in letting parents know where their children or their child is at the moment, and then where they're going. Because one thing is to know where the child should also know where she is, where she's going, and how to get there academically and otherwise, so that they will, putting everything together. I've also come to understand that parents are happy knowing, being invited to know that what the child or children are doing in the class.
No, this is fantastic. We will have to take a break now, and then when we resume this discussion, we will now be talking about the cost of all this, because these things you have, number one, to live in this kind of compound, to study in this kind of environment, and to maintain all these structures, beautiful structures, is expensive. And so we shall be discussing what are the cost implications. I mean, you had said earlier in schools where you taught, two of the schools where you taught were sponsored by government, so children didn't pay fees.
No.
Unfortunately, the government doesn't sponsor quality education in this country, so I imagine that the students here are paying a lot of fees. So when we come back, sister, we shall discuss this. We shall take a break, and during the break we shall take a look at sections of the compound, look at the chapel and look at the other parts of the compound briefly, and then we would resume our discussion with sister. We'll take a break. Talking about dream, I'll keep on dreaming. Dream about tomorrow, dream about the future, dream about sunshine, dream about flowers, dream about springtime, dream about new life, dream about love, dream about love, dream about love. Welcome back. This has been Reflections with Father George Ehusani. We have been discussing Catholic education. I am with sister on the grounds of Regina Pacis College, Gariki 2, Abuja. Sister, once again, we are in the middle of Abuja city. I mean, everybody who knows Abuja knows that Gariki is the middle, the heart of the city, Gariki 2, and it's such a serene environment created in the heart of a very busy city. By the way, your 900 or so students are all camped in the compound.
Yes, Father.
So it's a full boarding school.
Yes, for nobody. There's no day.
There's no day student.
Nobody coming from home.
That means you have enough hostels for 900 young people. Wow.
Yes, we do.
And then you have provisions for hall and dining room.
Yes.
To take 900
yes,
people.
We do. We have the refectory. We have junior refectory and senior refectory.
Okay.
But in the same building. The down one is junior, the upper one is.
So it's segregated. Is it that?
Yes, so that the very interesting. The children also know that they're there. The seniors know that they're there. So even in school uniform, you see we have a senior, junior uniform and senior uniform.
Wow.
So it tells you once you see a child, it tells once you see a child in refectory, that's a junior student. Go up there.
So there's hierarchy.
No hierarchy. In Catholic education, we talk about respect.
Wait. That's what hierarchy means. Meaning that there is junior and there's senior. That's hierarchy.
Hierarchy in the normal, in a good sense of it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Now, by the way, with almost 890 students, almost 900 students. That's a lot. And with such a massive compound, about how many staff do you have?
Altogether, we have 177 staff. When I mean
wow.
177, it includes the teachers
and the non-teaching staff.
Yes, teaching and
177 staff.
Yes.
I can't imagine what that will mean with regard to feeding children, taking care of staff, and so on. And then the staff, the 177, a number of them live on the compound.
Yeah, majority of them live on the compound. Even more still want to come in and live on the compound.
So there is provision for, let's say, 50, 60, 70 staff on the compound?
More than that.
More than that?
Yeah, we have, when you look around the school, you see one big building down there includes, it's not even enough. We have many staff, junior staff, non-teaching staff, we have teachers as well.
That live in the compound?
Many of them with their families, both married and not married.
Wow, that's a good thing, because you see, I am one of the proponents of staff quarters for all our Catholic enterprises, even parishes. I mean, a situation where in places like Lagos, places like Port Harcourt and Abuja, where housing is so expensive, a situation where people travel 20, 30 kilometers to go to work.
Yes.
It's not desirable, especially when we cannot pay what oil companies and telephone companies can pay. It will be good to have provision for staff quarters. Now, so staff quarters for more than 70, 80 staff. That's
over 100. I mean, over
100 staff.
Yes,
that's a lot of investment.
And it's very, very helpful for the school. The school has to be where it is now and even aims to move higher. You need those staff because you have duties, staff
duty
on duty.
Rosters, yes.
Yes, if you come here in the evening, night preps, you have teachers who are on night preps and monitors as well as supervisors. And then also the kitchen, majority of them live in the school as well.
The kitchen staff.
The kitchen staff. So it helps us to be on time, when we have program, everything is set in order.
I mean, it remains quite amazing for me that in the middle of the city like this, that the Archdiocese was able to obtain this land, to have this college and to have these provisions, a school with almost 900 students and staff. I'm still surprised, 177 staff.
Yes.
Wow. Now that takes us to the issue of finance. I can't ask you what your monthly budget will be because that's millions and millions to pay 177 staff and to feed 900 students.
Yes.
Now, what is the school fees like? What's the school fees? I mean, I'm almost asking that with tongue in cheek because I imagine that people of my level will not be able to send children here. So, what is school fees like?
The school fees right now is 230 termly, but as at last session, it was 195 for years. But things have moved on. If you listen to the news nowadays, Nigeria will tell you dollar has risen, isn't it? So a lot of things. The feeding aspect is the children eat well.
Dollar has risen, but people are still giving birth to children in naira.
I mean that is the term,
Yeah, the children that are born in Nigeria are born in naira. They are not born in dollar.
Our children need to eat well. They eat 6 times in a day.
6 times?
Yes, they do. They have breakfast, mostly cooked breakfast, egg and everything. By 11 o'clock, we talk about their tea break.
They have tea break?
Of course, they have you have bakery here. We have bake our break. Have pastries,
elite children,
meat pie, all those very nice thing. They eat well. They eat.
So afternoon there's another tea break.
In the afternoon they have their lunch at 2. By 4 they call it half cup. They have names for all these things. The half cup goes with biscuit and milk or granite, popcorn. They also have popcorn. Then in the evening they have another cooked meal. You know, they love fried rice on Tuesdays and other things. So then before they go to bed, they have another thing. They have
after dinner.
Yes, after their night prep and night prayers, they go straight to the refectory for their biscuits and milk before they go to bed. They need to have something to cool their head.
I mean, won't every child enjoy that? I mean, the children in my village, as you are speaking about, you know, breakfast and tea break and lunch and half cup and dinner and nightcap.
And fruits on top of that.
And fruits.
Yes, and ice cream sometimes.
Oh, even ice cream.
Yes.
Well, sister, as you say this, I have a problem. The problem I have is that 230,000 per term. I know by the Abuja standard,
This
it is
is
not
recent, though.
Yeah, by Abuja standard, it is not the highest kind of fees. I know that there are schools in Abuja where they are paying 400,000 per term. However, it creates a problem. The problem is about how many honest civil servants can afford to send one or two children, 3 children to such schools and pay from their honest earning. That's a problem. I'm not asking you to answer, but I see that there is a problem. A lot of elite schools in this country, school fees are between 100 and 500,000 naira, especially in cities like Port Harcourt and Abuja and Lagos and Enugu and so on. But the problem I have is, are we as church, are we not recycling a system of segregation? Are we not creating generations of people where those who have more, and those who don't have, even the little they have is taken away from them? Let me explain. You are in England,
yes,
where 75–80% of schools are paid for by government, including Catholic schools. And so the poorest person in England can send his child to school, to good schools,
yes,
with the kind of provisions you have just described. But we're in this country where even top-level civil servants that are not into any corrupt practices, top level, I'm talking of people on the level of level 15, 16, 17, in many states, cannot afford to pay 200,000–300,000 per term for their children, especially when they have 3–4 children. I'm not talking of 10 children. And I'm like, good education costs money.
It does.
And our schools are not grant aided as they used to be, meaning they are not supported financially by government. So there is a problem, because we have ended up with a situation where we seem to be putting a lot of our resources to train the children of the rich, especially in a country where the poor are so deprived. And the church is supposed to be the church of the poor. So if our Catholic schools are, either by way of their location, by way of the high standard of provision, both academic provision in terms of staff, provision in terms of good environment like this, and provision in terms of tea breaks and good lunch and whatever, priced above the level of the average person. Can the catechist in your village church, can he send his son to this school and pay 230,000 per term? Sister, what is your reaction?
I mean, my reaction will come first of all from the fact that if you want anything good, you just have to also work for it, isn't it? And then in this society today, in contemporary society, so much is required. You need a lot of the facilities in the school to maintain a school, and teachers also would like to be paid well for them to teach. You need to employ qualified teachers in every aspect, even qualified non-teaching staff. Talk about the caterer, and they're all qualified to be in the area. So the child has to feed well to be able to sit down in the class and learn. We have also this clinic as well. Those stuff, all these things, the balanced education. So what we're saying is that the school is not actually as expensive as they're looking at it, because even parents, it was long overdue when they tell them how are you coping, financially with what the type of work we give the children, the time we give them. We talk about money. Money may not even get, even when you put it to maybe 100,000 or there or 50,000, you find out that some still.
Well, sister, I agree with you.
Yes.
I agree with you that the kind of provision you have outlined,
Yes.
In terms of staff, 177 staff.
Yes.
That costs money. I agree with you.
Yes.
Maintaining this kind of serene environment,
Yes.
it costs money.
Yes.
There is no argument. I mean, I have seen your computer room, all the equipment there.
Department.
I've seen your music department and all the equipment there. I know there is no question that it costs a lot of money. I am not imagining that you do have an answer. I am just saying there is a problem. I have schools in my village, in my little town. I have schools. And we are still at a stage where if you charge 10,000 naira per term, and not for boarding, for day school, many parents cannot afford. We have schools around the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and I'm talking of primary schools, where you charge 4,000 or 5,000 naira and many parents cannot afford. Reason is that many parents are still in Nigeria earning lower than the minimum wage of 18,000 naira. So what does it mean? And I think those who teach in elite schools like this, whether Catholic or non-Catholic, should be aware that inadvertently we are perpetuating, without meaning to, we may be perpetuating an unjust structure. What St. John Paul II called structures of sin, meaning we didn't begin it, but what if we find ourselves perpetuating structures that are unjust, basically, where those that have made the most capital economically from a dysfunctional system, they are the ones whose children benefit from our education. They are the ones who therefore tomorrow will get good employment and continue the structures that put the poor down. The poor are not able to go to good schools. I know that I am talking, it's like preaching to the choir, as they say, because I am aware that you are doing your PhD, and that you are doing your PhD with a university in England, and that the topic of your PhD thesis is Catholic education and the interest of the poor, right?
In Nigeria.
Catholic education and the interest of the poor in Nigeria.
Yeah, Catholic schools.
Meaning that you yourself, you are worried with the same kind of worry that is. So can you tell our viewers something about your PhD thesis, your research about Catholic education and the interests of the poor?
Thank you, Father. I think it's a very, very interesting part of this interview, because what it made me to begin to think about this research in this area is, when even now as I'm talking, if you go to the roads, our roads, you see people, poor people, these hawkers that are selling things when they should be in school. And I came to realize that It's not because they really would not like to go to school, because they don't have the money to go to school. Some of them do that to train themselves. So my research is also born from this principle of preferential option for the poor.
Preferential option
for the poor. Yes, and it's a mandate from the church, for the church, to educate the poor, because that's in mind of Christ as well, because Christ loved the poor and wanted everybody to be educated, in different schools, and so that they can also take care of themselves in the world, in life, develop themselves, human development. So I've been to different schools, and I'm trying to look at it from this angle, where every school have to what extent are they serving the interest of the poor, and we as a country and the church, we really have to look into that. Are we, in all our schools, to what extent are we serving the interest of the poor? Serving the interest of the poor, so giving them opportunity to be educated. Yes, you asked about school fees here. I think also that the church will have to think about that. What you're saying is right. We may have to look into the rural areas as well. Are we going to develop different sister schools in different areas, so that the rich, the poor can also be
You see, when you talk about 230,000 naira school fees.
Yes.
And when you were listing for me mere food provision for the school.
Yes.
You see, our poor children are actually not asking for tea break. Our poor children are not even asking for 3 square meals. For a lot of our poor children, if they can go to school and take 110, meaning or 011, meaning if they can just have 2 meals a day.
Yes.
2 meals a day that don't even have to be of the same quality as the 6 meals people take here. Many of them will be okay, and by the grace of God, they grow well. After all, Daniel took only vegetables, and Daniel was looking better than the people who are eating a lot of meat.
Healthy living.
Now, so how can we, sisters, that I know this school belongs to the Archdiocese, but you also own your schools as Daughters of Divine Love, and a lot of congregations, the Holy Child Sisters, the Our Lady of Apostles Sisters, the Immaculate Heart Sisters, various congregations run schools. How can we mitigate this problem? Because I see that we are investing a lot of our high-level trained staff. I know the various principles that this particular school has had in its 25 years of existence. Solid, qualified professionals, teachers. And apart from the Reverend Sisters, I know a lot of the lay Catholics that are teaching here. Solid professionals. And I am saying, are we not investing our top-level resources to train only the children of the rich? What can we do about it so that these human resources within the church can work more? If we say we are serving Jesus and his preferential option for the poor, wonderful as everything you all are doing here seem or are, I am afraid that on the last day I may be scolded for spending my whole life working for the children of the rich. I'm really afraid. I mean, if you take Jesus's preferential option for the poor seriously, when I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was ignorant, you educated me.
Yes.
What do you think? I mean, and this is important for your research.
Yes.
What do you suggest can be done about it? Because at the end of the day, let's say you are here as principal for 10 years, for example, and then maybe you live here, and before you retire, you go to another Catholic school of this level as principal. Don't you think that on the last day Jesus may ask you what categories of people you spent your life teaching?
Father, thank you very much. You know, we're not ruling the fact that, you know, there are also Catholic schools in the villages, and even particularly my order has schools in also villages, and I know that from time to time when they can't afford, no matter how little, you know, acknowledge the fact that even when the school fee could be 2,000 naira, some people will still find it difficult to send their children. I know from time to time my mother general, and even those who even were the mother general before her, from time to time they also help in our schools. They can, you know, subsidize in various ways, either providing lunch or even the school and then waive it off if a person is struggling financially. So I think what the church can do is we can pull our heads together, different congregations. I think you also brought that idea some time ago, that we can put our heads together to decide this. Some schools like here, Regina Pacis, you might also have a younger one as your sister's, much twin school in another place, much maybe rural area, so that they, you know, we may not even ask them to pay, but whatever we get here we might be using to sponsor that. Maybe in the future, I'm sure our proprietor, I'm sure he's highly interested in also including the poor, because I know he's worried. He wants us to, you know, make sure that people are getting the right education. I
have discussed this on this same grounds. I have discussed with Cardinal Onaekon, the proprietor of this school.
Yes.
I have discussed with him about what the church is doing as church, meaning leaders of the church, leaders of congregations, bishops, parish priests, what we are doing in terms of investment in our youth. And when I talk about our youth, it includes children who belong to our churches that need to go to school.
Yes.
How much are we investing? Parishes set up schools, dioceses set up schools, congregations set up schools, and unfortunately in some areas it is seen as an investment to bring in money. From that point of view, we will be missing the point of educating Jesus's poor. And I'm saying that my own perspective, and I have been saying this wherever I go, is that the resources of the church, meaning the Sunday collection, the harvest collection, the donations we receive, that a lot of it should be channeled for educating people, and among these people should be educating the poor. So we need to begin to look into what are our priorities as church. I am not expecting that you will have all the answers to this. So I'm not putting you on the spot. But I'm just trying to make you recognize that with all of us and all of you who are staff in places like this, just recognize that we have a contradiction. We definitely, with Jesus's preferential option for the poor, sister, there is a contradiction. You see, even in the villages, you mentioned schools in the villages.
Yes.
This topic is all over the place. Even in the villages, the poorest in the villages cannot afford our education. So, Catholic education definitely is not cheap. But the challenge is, how do we make Catholic education reach the poorest people? I say, for example, the catechists in my village and in your village. Even those schools in the village, a catechist that is paid 25,000 per month, can he afford the schools in the village?
You see, can I come in here? You see, what we're saying here, the church cannot even do more extra if the government does not come in to sponsor, because things are not getting cheaper anywhere, even in the village. You know, we really need to find another way of getting the government involved to, you know, create that awareness, which also my research is going to look at. You know, is a way of creating an awareness.
Bringing back aid in schools.
Exactly, it's because the church cannot, you know, yes, the church wants to. We all want to. The church as a Catholic church, they want to make sure that people are educated, get the best, even cheaper. But then the government, this is Nigeria, isn't it? And all of us are citizens of Nigeria, and every child in Nigeria has a right to be educated.
So how do we go about that? You see, schools, when I went to secondary school, schools, a number of Catholic schools were grant aided. By 1973, we had the edict, the decree that took over schools, beginning from East Central State under Upabi Asika. And then so many other parts of the country copied it. But before then, schools that were established by the missions were, in large measure, in many parts of the country, grant aided, by which a school like this, the government paid your 177 staff.
Yes.
And then the school, you charged minimal school fees that took care of the maintenance and the feeding and so on. But government, you know, I went to a government secondary school and I paid something in the neighborhood of £30 per annum or something. And I remember that we got everything. We didn't have tea breaks, but we got everything, and we had beautiful compound like this in a government secondary school.
Yes.
It is true that not everybody could afford that £30, but there were differentiated fees. The government had a way of measuring the income level of people so that people of a particular social economic class paid higher than others. So there was some more judicious, equitable fee structure because government evaluated the person's economic or financial standing, and the school fees were charged according to that. This was a way of leveling up. So children of various social strata attended the same schools but paid differentiated fees. I know that it may be difficult to do that because people are generally these days not very honest with regards to their income. However, perhaps the point I want to make is that all of us should recognize that we have a problem.
Yes.
Which we must
work together
to see how we can solve. So apart from advocating for government grant aid in our schools, I mean, you came from England where all children go to school for free.
Compulsory.
I worked briefly in Germany, and until university level, nobody pays fees. Primary school, nursery school, primary school, secondary school. You go, the government takes care of it. So we need to advocate for all Nigerian children are entitled to high-level education.
Yes.
Nigeria is not Somalia. Nigeria is not Niger. Nigeria has the resources to train its children. May not be at the level of children in Regina Pacis College. They don't really need all that. The poor children don't need all that tea breaks. But they can have 3 meals a day, and they can have, good quality academics. I am interested in the outcome of your research, and I hope that religious superiors and bishops and parish priests that own and run schools can key into it and let us be, all of us be concerned as to what do we do about this problem.
It would be nice. I mean, I'm looking forward to that time too.
To end this discussion, it has been a discussion on Catholic education, and very critical to this discussion, we have reflected on the plight of the poor and how the poor can benefit from quality Catholic education. I have been with Sister Maria Ugonna, Igbo, principal of Regina Pacis College in Gariki 2, Abuja, in this beautiful compound. Sister, it has been wonderful discussing with you.
Thank you,
and
Father.
I have enjoyed the birds singing, see the birds flying around, the insects flying around. Beautiful compound. I hope that we can be coming here from time to time to take in some of nature's endowment.
Thank you, Father. I think it's a privilege too, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Well done. Thank you.
you
Come again, Father.
Thank you.